Welcome to the Blue Collar Gold Podcast, the podcast that shows you how to build a world-class service business from the dirt up. And now, your host, Mark Stoner.
Hello and welcome again to the Blue Collar Gold Podcast. I am trying the video version on YouTube and the podcasting version, so hopefully that goes well. Doing it in the morning this time. I usually do it at night, but have to be traveling, so I'm trying to get it finished up. Today is 9/11. I'm recording it, and I know that everybody thinks of this day, where they were, what they were doing, and I was on my way to a real estate. I was speaking to some real estate agents at I can't believe it's been 18 years, but I was at a regional sales meeting for this real estate company, and I was on my way in, and Terry, my wife, called me and said, "Did you hear about that plane that hit a building?" And everybody has their own stories, and that just started the day. And I remember that phone call, and I remember that. And then, I walked into the place, and everybody's starting to talk about what's happening and watching, and then all of a sudden we start watching it on the TV, and it's just getting worse and worse, and everybody's just going crazy. It's the worst day ever. And so then they decided to go ahead and have the meeting. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how are we having this meeting? And so they opened the meeting almost like nothing bad is it was kind of weird. It was like they weren't really addressing it. And then I have to get up. I'm the first speaker up to talk. And I get up and I just start to shut down. I mean, I'm supposed to talk about fire and the potential of fire and safety. And I'm watching this catastrophe. The world is on fire. And I just started to cry. I just broke down. And I said, I can't talk. I don't want to talk about this right now. I don't want to talk about it. I can't do it. And I sat back down. And a bunch of people came up to me and patted me on the back. And the funniest thing happened, though, was after that, many people came up to me, many real estate agents came up to me and thanked me for not talking. And they used me for years. Like, again, that's 18 years ago. But for years, they all remember me not talking at that time and not presenting. And I said, I just can't do it. And I think they were all thankful that I didn't try to talk and talk about my company and what we could do for them or safety or any of that. It was just better not to talk. And I'll never forget that, and anybody in that room remembers, how that whole thing felt. And then later that day, everybody's in a cloud. Their brains are not working, and it's bad. And I was working by myself, and I went into this house to clean, their chimney, and they were watching on TV like everybody was, and I was kind of catching up on the stories on the radio and listening. When I go into houses, everybody had it on. And I start cleaning the chimney, and I'm by myself, and I have I have a mask on and, vacuum going and everything. And I sweep the chimney, and when I come out of the fireplace, I turn around, and it's all foggy in the house, really. And I think it's my mask. And I take my mask down, and the couple is sitting on this couch right behind me, and they're looking at it, and they're in a cloud, and they're like, "Wow, this is dusty." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" And come to find out, my filter on my vacuum I can't remember. I had a split in it. It was a brand new filter, but it had a split from the manufacturing right up against this rubber part, and you couldn't tell it, but it leaked the whole time. So when I first flipped it on, it was a brand new filter. Everything was clean, no problem. And then I put my mask on, and I go into work in the fireplace, and it had been dusting the whole time. It dusted that entire house. It dusted the even upstairs. It got in their filtration system and their clothes. It's like a $14,000 insurance claim on 9/11, on 911, the worst day ever. I also dust someone's house, have the worst insurance claim I'd had, and ruin these people's day, even worse. So that day, it was everything bad happening. So today, I also I got some nice notes about my father and Alzheimer's, and I made I had to move him from a nursing home or from a hospital to a nursing home, and then that's actually not working out very well. He's not settling down, and it's a problem. But I thought I would say some of the funny things he has been saying, because there's times he's still there. There's times he's still cognizant, or he says something very witty. And I had a note. We were changing a light bulb, and when we were changing it, one of them had a lower output than the other. I can't remember what it was, but he said that's kind of like me, kind of dim, and it cracked us up. My sister-in-law was talking to him when we were getting ready to move him, and she said, you are just, look how cute you are. You're still so cute. And my dad said, golly, get that girl another drink. And it just cracked us up. And then in this nursing home, there were people that were there, but they were also, they're out of it, but they also still have flashes of who they are. And this older lady was just watching us move my dad in and out of the room and kind of trying to take care of him, and she was just watching us smiling, and my sister-in-law looked at her and said, I'm sorry, this is very confusing for him. This lady says it is confusing. It's very confusing, if not amusing, but definitely confusing. And it was just so funny. And then later, the lady was still watching us move in and out. Again, she's a patient. She must have been, 80s, maybe 90s. And we said, he doesn't know where he is, talking about my dad. And she said, do you know where he is? I mean, in almost the creepiest little way. And it was just funny. I mean, there was some other things that were, this other lady was there, and she said, the food is good here. The food is very, very good here. She said, you may not know what you're eating, but it's good. So we're trying to have moments of good and clarity amongst some of the hardest stuff we've ever done. So hope you guys are having a good week out there in the business world. I finished up last week my leadership podcast, and I got some emails and texts from people that said, I think I am the passive leader. And like I said before, in my consulting, that's probably the number one leadership style, is that passive leader. And we have been taught to be nice so much. Do not cause conflict. In school, if you question things, we're just taught to be default nice. And I'm not against that, but that also leads to, it's the reason we have so many weak leaders, is because of how we're taught. Don't say the wrong thing. Say things that make people, don't make noise. Don't make waves. When somebody's saying something you disagree with, just keep it to yourself. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Well, sometimes that's exactly the wrong thing to do. I'm actually reading, and Jeremy Biswell listens to this, and he sent me a message. He goes, you talk about these books. He goes, are you literally reading all these books, or are you listening to them? And for the longest time, I read books. I probably have read, 400 books, but the last probably 400 books I've really mostly listened to. Now, I still read some books, but probably 8 out of 10 things I'm putting in are through audio, Audible, that kind of thing. So I downloaded a book called Not Nice, and some of these things are just listening to how that being nice all the time, it can lead you down a path of bad. Nice is different than kind. Now, I think everybody should be kind, but nice can be a fake thing. Nice can be also so you don't feel embarrassed. Nice can be something that so you blend in, so you're not singled out. And so I think you have to be careful with nice, especially if it's covering up something else. Especially if it's covering up something you need to say or need to do. And I've this is my own journey. That was my problem of just always needing to be accepted or not cause problems. And even in this industry and in businesses, as I start to, as I want to be lead the way in some things or come up with new ideas or change the thought process, I've learned that being nice and also being someone who is a change agent and you change things a lot or you want to move things forward, those two things clash. You almost can't be both. I will be kind, but you have to push through if you really believe in something. And especially if you're going to move the needle in your business or in your community or in anything, nice gets run over. And nice is also self-fulfilling. Be kind, but be driven and get through stuff and say the things you have to say and do the things you have to do in pursuit of kindness, in pursuit of helping others, but not in the world of necessarily nice, if that makes sense. And so again, I get these emails from leaders that are struggling for that because nice hides what really needs to be said and done. So I think I'm going to wrap that up on the passive leader, because the passive leader doesn't want to cause waves, and the passive leader wants to hopefully just let things settle down and they'll go away. Now, I'm a fan of not necessarily fighting every fire as soon as it's blazing in front of me. Sometimes I'll let that thing burn for a minute. I'll let it burn. A customer is super upset. I might let that burn for a minute. I might not answer it right then. If they call and they're mad on the phone, I won't necessarily answer that phone call right then when they're called in mad. I'm not taking that phone call and just going right into the fire. I'll call them back when I have time, and usually it's when I let it settle down, either at the end of the day, maybe the next day. Because then when I call them back on my own time, one, I'm not as emotional. Two, they're not as emotional, and we can talk more civilly. So that's a tactic I use quite a bit, is not necessarily engaging the problem, immediately right in the middle of the fire. Now, my people on the phone, they're front line. They have to take that phone call and listen to the customer. Then when I talk to them, a lot of times they say, they were so much nicer to you. They were really mean to me. And then I call them, they were great. Well, a lot of it is the timing of the whole thing. So understand what fires that you want to fight. Understand the fires that need to be fought. Some of them just need to burn out. But don't lead that way. Don't lead your whole company that way, hoping this one technician is just magically going to get better, or this office staff person is just naturally going to stop doing what they're doing. That doesn't work. Letting it burn actually a lot of times makes that stuff grow. I'm talking about immediate problems, but when you get into technicians and people being, basically breaking policy or becoming domineering or becoming a problem in your business, that's when I talk about buffaloing up and going right at the problem and get that thing out of your way. That's really the only way you can do it. I've made some notes here. I don't know if you guys have seen this TV show I think it's on Discovery or History Channel, called Undercover Billionaire. And if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it now. I think there's 4 episodes out at the time I'm recording this, and I've only seen 2 of them. But it was really fascinating, and I actually learned a lot from watching this guy. And real quickly, the premise, if you haven't watched it, is this guy's a billionaire. He's a self-made billionaire. He dropped out of school. I think he got a girl pregnant at 14. He dropped out of school, I think, in 8th grade. He's never had anything, and he built up, a fortune through, I think, financial services and loans and lending and things like that. So the premise of the story of the show is they can drop him. He said, you can drop me anywhere in the country, give me $100 and a pickup truck, and I'll turn into $1 million in 90 days. He cannot use his phone, any of his contacts, anyone he knows, any of his resources or ties. He can use nothing. So basically he goes in broke with a truck and starts to figure out how to make money. And he goes on, using his phone, he goes on, Facebook Marketplace, and he goes on Craigslist and all these different things. And one of the things he does is he finds out what people are wanting to buy, and then he goes and tries to source it and find it for them. Instead of finding something to sell and hope somebody will buy it, he goes the opposite way. He went after these great big truck tires that could bring money. He ended up finding a car lot that was going out of business, and he had done a couple things and he went to, I know what it was. The first thing was like a Mardi Gras or a St. Patty's Day parade. He found this shirt guy that he went and bought all this stuff super cheap on sale the day of St. Patty's Day and went to a parade. And he also found this shirt guy that would make some shirts like on consignment, and then once he sold them, he would take the money. And he went out there and he made like $500. And you just have to watch it. You have to believe he's going to do it. Because of his mindset and because of his determination to absolutely be successful, he's going to do it. He then turned some of that money and found a cheap car for a couple $100, and he sold it for a couple $1,000s after he cleaned it up, and just on and on. He just moving through it. And then he also joined the entrepreneur center in the local town. They put him in Erie, Pennsylvania in the wintertime. And he joined that local entrepreneur center and got around other like-minded people, and he's getting them to buy into building something with their energy, but not necessarily money. And what they don't realize is at the end, whoever helps him, he's going to give them this business. And if he comes up even $1 short on the valuation of the business, he's going to donate another $1 million to the city to make this thing work. So it's highly recommended. Fascinating business lessons on how to make it happen. And to think, when you watch him do it, you realize your success is in your brain. Your success is in your hustle. Your success is in your creativity and your resourcefulness. It's up to you, man, or woman. This whole game is up to you. I've said recently on another podcast that all of a sudden our company started believing in our product, which was outside mount chimney caps. Which, if you're not in the chimney business, that doesn't mean anything. But it's been in front of us the whole time. All of a sudden we changed our thought process as to how beneficial they are for the customer, how beneficial they are for us to make them, our manufacturing company, how beneficial they are for our technicians to install them. It helps everybody. Now, are they more expensive? Yes, but it helps everybody. They look good on a fire. They look good on a chimney, on a house. And we started to tell a lot of people about them. Well, I got an email yesterday, 2 days ago, from a person that came through my Blue Collar University and said, man, just spending one day with you has changed my entire business. He said, I didn't even know these kind of chimney caps could be sold and how valuable they are. And yesterday he sold 11 of them. 11 of these things that were, $1,000 to $2,000 a piece. He said, because you showed me how to see it and I realized it, I believe in. I had another guy, same thing, came through my Blue Collar University, and he's selling probably 10 of these things a week. Now, maybe about 7 or 8 a week. But we're making them for him and shipping them, creating to them, and we see how successful he is. It's starting to really happen. Why? Why is it happening? Because they saw it and they believe in it. What do you need to see to believe in the ability to make your business go? Do you need to go get around a convention? Do you need to go visit a business? Do you need to talk to somebody? Do you need to read a book? Do you need inspiration? Are you hustling full out now? I know several of my friends are hustling full out right now. They stay busy and they are busy. And you don't need to get them going, but get around somebody that is moving and shaking and hustling. I have a couple more notes here. Another thing on that billionaire show is, I got to thinking about it, is, are you thinking too small? Do you think small? And small is how you, what matters. You don't want to take a risk. I'll give you an example. Recently, I went to the hospital. I had a heart catheterization done where they were checking my plumbing to make sure I didn't have a blockage. I don't have a blockage. I'm fine, no problems. But the nurse in there, I was talking to her. She's super friendly, and she's a lady that makes pies. She makes pies, and on the weekends, she goes to these flea markets and farmers markets, and she sells her pies. And I asked her, how long she's been doing it. She's been doing like 20 years, family recipe. Asked her if she's ever read the book, The E-Myth Revisited. She said no. In The E-Myth Revisited, it's a parable. It's a story about a lady that makes pies. And she loves making pies. And so she opens up her bakery. And then pretty soon she is making pies so much that she's so busy she hates the pie making business. So she hadn't read it, but I kind of told her kind of what it was. She said, yeah, it sounds like me, but she doesn't open a store. I said, how much do you sell your pies for? She said, $8 or $10 a piece. And I said, that sounds really cheap for a homemade pie. She said, oh no, I'm getting top dollar. I said, well, I bet you're not getting top dollar, especially if they're really good. I said, I know a pie company in Zionsville, Indiana, where my brother lives. And this lady gets $28 a pie, plus shipping, if you ship it. It's called sugar something. I can't remember what it is, sugar pies or something. And and you go on her website, and they're $24 to $28 a pie. And this lady about fell out. She's like, no way. No, I said, well, I guess your pies aren't as good as hers. To challenge her. She's like, they are good. She's like, I couldn't get that. I said, how do you know? I said, you're scared. I said, and here I am giving business advice, and she didn't want any business advice. She's trying to hook me up to give me medicine and stuff. But I said, how many pies can you make a day? And I think she said she could make 15 pies in a day. I said, at $10 a piece, that's $150 a day. How much in sugar and everything do you have in a pie? And I think she had a couple dollars in the pie crust and energy, like $3 or $4. I said, so you're going to work all day, and you're going to make about $70 or $80, maybe $100 for 12 hours worth of work. And so you're making about $8 an hour before taxes. And that doesn't even include you going sitting at the farmer's market and then trying to sell them again. And obviously, all of a sudden, I don't think she liked my business advice so much, but it was very real. And I said, you're doing this for a couple bucks an hour. And she's like, oh my gosh, I never even thought of that. I said, you have to raise your prices. You can't. Unless you just want to do this for the fun of it, which is fine, that's great, but you're never going to make any money at it. And you have to at least double the cost of those pies. You have to be charging $16 at least. She's like, oh my gosh, I couldn't get it. I said, do this. Go out and try it. If at the beginning of the day they're not selling, lower your prices so you make sure you sell them. But even if you sold half the pies at double the cost, isn't that better? And she goes, I just never think of business like this. And I said, well, you don't have to take my advice clearly, but I want you to, if you're in business, this is what I focus on. This is what I like. This is what I try to help people with all the time. And I enjoy, and I gave her some books to read, and I gave her, some things to think about. But the whole problem is she's thinking so small. She's thinking so small. Do you think small? Or do you think customers won't pay for this? I don't know if I can get customers. I don't want to grow too big. And maybe you don't. That's fine. I saw a thing on Facebook the other day where a person said, hey, I haven't advertised my chimney business since 2004. And I'm booked out into 2020. He's a one-man operation. I'm like, great. He said something like, an association I'm with says, like, we try to tell everybody they have to build bigger is better. And I would never say that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying bigger is better for me. Bigger is better for, I think, more people. I can service more customers. If I'm really in the business of safety and servicing customers and making sure as many people don't burn their house down from a chimney fire, then my responsibility is to build a bigger and bigger business. If I want this trade to stay going, I want to teach more people the trade. Now, there's other ways to do that. You could be an educator. You could train technicians across the country, one-man operations, or I could train a lot of guys in my place. Also, I want to be a beacon for the industry. If I really believe in it, I want to show people what's possible and what could be, so other people will want to follow in those footsteps and build businesses like mine or bigger than mine. That's just as good to see somebody pass me up, have a better business, and say, hey, thanks, Mark, for blazing the trail and showing us how to do it. So I'm going to wrap this 30 minutes up. I know it's a little bit of a ramble, but it started with 911 and really being appreciative of this country. I see my tattoo here. It's American flag and an eagle. I got a little patch on there, but I used to have a Japanese tattoo back in the 90s, and it said drum. And then after a while, I'm like, I want something American. I want it to be all American. So, about a year ago, I had them redo that tattoo and do a cover up and do something all American because, I believe in this country. I believe what it can do. I believe that we do more good than bad. I know sometimes we don't make all the best decisions. Show me a country that does. Show me a country around the world that does. But most have checkered past. Most have mistakes they made. I think America's fast to fix it. I think we're fast to try to make it better. And 911 was a hit in the gut for us. The thing about, I saw a meme on Facebook the other day that said, I wish our country could be together like it was on 9/12. And man, that is so true. I mean, we were together. We were united. We were the most patriotic I had seen us going, if you're going to attack us, we're going to band together. I hate to think that we need something like that to be back together because we're very split right now politically. And that's unfortunate. And I don't see how it's going to get better because we've divided. We've got our lines and we are sticking to our lines. We don't really necessarily want to hear too much from the other side. We think we've heard enough. And if you're on that side, you're not with us. I hate that it would mess up friendships. But again, 911 brought us together. And we can be great like that. We can be together in a united. I'd hate for us to fight something. It'd be better if we were all united behind something. But that's a different topic for a different day. Guys, appreciate you. I appreciate everyone out there. I think we're almost at 6,000 downloads and listens. And thank you for that. Thank you for our 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. If you like what I'm talking about, please share it with people. If you haven't given us a rating, please give us a rating. It helps in all of our standings and helps more people get this message out. I think blue collar is the future. It's one of the futures. It's going to be rising. We need to train more people to do it. We need to brag about it. We need to lift it up. Hands-on work is a real, it's a good thing. There's a lot of pride in it, and we need to build it up. So if you like this podcast, or you know someone who's building a service-based business, please share it. And we'll talk to you soon.